When last we checked in with Riley Gaines, she was going coast to coast to protect women's sports at the state level and speak out on college campuses. And well, for the effort, she got chased down, assaulted, and held hostage at San Francisco State University. So, Riley Gaines, good to have you back here, spokesperson for Independent Women's Forum. Let me start this way. As a friend, as a father, are you okay? This has not been a great month for you, frankly.
It has been crazy. This whole past year has been crazy, but specifically these past few weeks. Oh my goodness, I am totally fine. I am someone who I'm tough in certain ways, and this is one of those ways. Of course,
Yeah.
this mob that I was met with, they were trying to silence me. They were doing everything in their power to make me be quiet, but that's just something I'm not willing to do. So I'm fine. I'm moving forward with full steam ahead.
I'm a firm believer that God's puts all of us in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And every time I see you out there fighting this fight, as I have for the last almost year now, I am reminded of that. So I want to talk about your testimony in Texas. Like I said, you've been going state to state as legislatures are debating the protect women's sports idea. You brought home something that I think gets lost in the mix here in your testimony in Texas. We talk about fairness, we talk about opportunity, we talk about Title IX, and that's all very important. It is. But this is a safety issue. We men, we fathers, we husbands, we boyfriends, we need to step up and protect the women in our lives because you are put in a very dangerous, you and other women are put in a dangerous situation when you go into the locker room. And I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit because I think it gets lost in this conversation.
Absolutely. I think the locker room piece is huge because you think about a year ago, 2 years ago, a man walking into a woman's locker room would have immediately been arrested and charged with indecent exposure, sexual harassment, voyeurism. I'm sure the list could even go on and on. But now, not only is it happening, it's as if it's being encouraged, it's being celebrated. So that's what the safety piece looks like in areas of undressing. But the safety piece, even in regards to sports that require physical contact. I mean, just last week, I talked to a volleyball player. Her name is Peyton McNabb. She's a senior in high school, and I'm sure some of you have even seen the video. There's a viral video of her in her last volleyball game ever competing against a girls' team with a man on the team. The man jumps up, spikes the ball, hits her in the face, and this happened last September. Of course, now it's May.
Yeah.
She is still her vision is impaired. She's partially paralyzed on her right side. She now cannot play collegiate sports. She now has to have accommodations for testing at school because she can't retain information because her head injury was so severe. So it's just a matter of how many girls have to be exposed to male parts while simultaneously undressing in a locker room, and how many girls have to be physically injured to the point where they have to quit their sports before we have legislators, before we have more people willing to stick up for women and protect us in our sports.
And listen, I know I've talked to you in the past. You've been on the program before, and I know that you wish this were a bipartisan issue. You wish that this wasn't sort of divided red state, blue state, Democrat, Republican. But it is striking when you see who is standing with you and other women wanting to protect women's sports, Riley Gaines, and those who oppose you. But are you feeling like Democrats are starting to get the picture on this issue?
At the state level, more so. Just a few weeks ago, again, I went to North Carolina. I'd been to Texas. I've been all over. And there are more and more Democrats at the state level who are coming around. But at the federal level, look at what happened in the U.S. House of Representatives just a week or two ago when they introduced this Save Women's Sports Act, essentially that would uphold Title IX. Um, Not one Democrat voted in favor of protecting women and girls, which
Yeah.
isn't even representative of their own party. Of course, the overwhelming majority of Republicans agree with this, but in recent polls, it shows the majority of Democrat voters don't even want men and women's sports. So these Democrats who are voting in opposition of protecting women, they're not even accurately representing their own party, which is so ironic because the left was once a party that prided themselves on empowering women, on respecting and honoring and celebrating women. And now we're seeing that narrative flipped.
Yeah.
And again, this happened so quickly. It blows my mind the way this issue has really been on this turntable. But it's a
Yeah.
winning issue, and I'm fortunate that Republicans are seizing it and protecting our sex based rights.
Well, and of course, at the federal level, when that bill was being debated in the House, Democrats did trot out a couple of athletes to speak on behalf of allowing biological men to compete against women, including Brittany Griner. This is remarkable considering she was in a jail in Russia for breaking the laws of that country. She was traded for an international arms dealer. She should be thankful to be standing on free ground here in this country. And yet she is now using her voice and her profile to ruin women's. Do you think it's as simple as the fact that so far there hasn't been a man who's tried to compete in the WNBA? Is it just that simple and that selfish?
Absolutely, it is. And we're seeing the same thing for Megan Rapinoe, Billie Jean King. I mean, these were women who are, of course, athletically successful. I mean, Billie Jean King, we essentially have to accredit Title IX to. This was a woman who fought for women's rights, for women's sport. And now these women, they're at the end of their career. They don't have daughters to defend, and they would rather virtue signal. They would rather be seen as kind and inclusive, protecting this LGBTQ community because they themselves are a part of it. But it is not kind to ask a girl to undress in front of a man, and it is not inclusive to ask a girl to smile and step aside and give her accolades to someone, a male, who would have never earned those accolades on the men's side. And I want to mention both Brittany Griner and Megan Rapinoe kneeled for the American flag for our national anthem. That shows
Mhm.
where their respect is. That shows what their character really is. They can't even respect the country that we live in, which I think is I mean, that's abysmal.
Yeah. Listen, I know we've talked off the air before. I don't think it's a secret that you never intended this to be your post collegiate life. You got married. You wanted to pursue a dental career, and I hope you still do. I hope things calm down for you. That said, as I said, this is God. God has put you in this place, and you have, without planning on it, become a role model. I hear about it all the time from other young girls who look up to you now because of your courage and because you're so outspoken. I know you hear from them too, but I wonder how often do you hear from these young women saying, "Thank you for speaking out because I can't. Because if I do, the repercussions will be so fierce against me on my campus." That's a very sad reality, isn't it, Riley?
Daily, I hear from girls, daily. And I'm talking hundreds of messages every day, whether that be from collegiate female athletes who are dealing with this, whether that be from parents of middle school athletes who their daughters on a team with her middle school basketball team has three or four boys on it. Coaches, I hear from coaches all the time who feel threatened and that they can't even speak up. I hear this daily, which is why I'm continuing to fight for this, which is why I've put myself in this some sort of unfortunate position where no, this is not what I've ever wanted to do. This is not something I ever foresaw myself doing. Even a year ago, I would not thought I would have been here.
Yeah.
But I see just how many women are at stake, and that's something I'm 100% willing to fight for.
Leah Thomas, the person that you swam against and sort of started this whole thing rolling for you, has recently come out and said, people, I didn't name you specifically, but people like you, that you're using feminism as some sort of cloak and disguise or shield for your real right wing, intolerant, sexist positions. I'd love, as a woman, for you to respond to this guy mansplaining to you what a real feminist is supposed to be.
That's what it is, mansplaining. Look, feminism and sex-based terms, they're not fluid. They don't get to change because you want the narrative to change. These are terms that are set. The feminist movement was a movement that was meant to empower women and honor and recognize and celebrate women based off of our uniqueness from men. That's what this whole thing started as. And now when we're allowing men back into our spaces, back into our sports, back into our prisons, our shelters, I mean, the list could go on. That is the opposite of what the feminist movement is. And that's not something that you just get to decide and say. It actually is. There's one truth here, and that's the truth that I'm speaking. My arguments, what I've been saying this past year, they're nothing opinionated. It's nothing hateful. It's backed in common sense, reason, logic, science, and the truth.
Doesn't sound like a victim of the patriarchy to me, but what do I know? I'm just a dude. Riley Gaines, always great to hear from you. Keep up the great work and don't be a stranger, please.
Of course. You too, Larry. Thank you so much.
There's more to come on O'Connor tonight. Thanks for watching Salem News Channel. Keep it right here.